The UEFA Champions League quarterfinals are finally here, and this is crunch time. This is where some of the big competitors are going to get eliminated. So, one thing is for sure, we're going to see some massive eliminations because it's just mostly big teams left. And it's a great lineup of fixtures as well. We have Real Madrid against Bayern Munich on Tuesday, Sporting against Arsenal on Tuesday as well. On Wednesday, we have Liverpool taking on PSG and Barcelona taking on Atletico Madrid. So without any further ado, let us start with the predictions. Now I'm going to talk about Real Madrid and Bayern Munich first because this is quite a massive game. And honestly, this is a blockbuster game if you think about it. It's a meeting of two giants in Europe. We already know how good Real Madrid are in Europe. We know that Bayern Munich also have some success in Europe as well. So, looking at it, Real Madrid narrowly missed out on the top 8, so that's why they had to go through qualifiers. But moving past then, they've been really good in the Champions League. In fact, getting past the round of 16, they beat Manchester City 5-1 on aggregates, which is really, really good in terms of the results. So Real Madrid, we already know what they have. Bayern have been really dominant in the Champions League as well. They finished second in the league phase, which was really good for them, only losing one game to Arsenal. Now, in terms of form, Madrid were doing fantastic until they lost this game this past weekend to Mallorca 2-1. So that leaves them in a really difficult spot in terms of winning La Liga. And it means the UEFA Champions League is really their best chance at a trophy this season. Now, Barcelona can still mess up in La Liga and Real Madrid still have a chance. But in terms of the most objective and realistic trophy that Real Madrid can win this season, I think it's the Champions League. However, Bayern have been an absolute machine. They have lost only 2 games all season. 2 games all season. One of them was to Arsenal. That was where they conceded 3, lost 3-1. And the other was to Augsburg in January. So this is a team that's doing really well. They played many games and only lost 2 all season. 2 games all season. So this is a team that is hardly ever losing games. So you're looking at a machine in this sense because this is a team that will continue to fight and try and see what they can do. So can Real Madrid be one of the teams to add another loss to them? That's going to be the question. I think if there's one team that can end up beating anyone in the Champions League, it's Real Madrid. So despite the fact that Bayern Munich have been so great, if there's one team that can beat anyone, like I said, it's Madrid. But in the Champions League, Madrid have not lost their last 9 games to Bayern Munich, which is a really crazy stat. So in terms of history, I think this fixture favors Real Madrid. But in terms of current form, it's very hard to look past Bayern Munich. But in terms of my prediction, I think the better side in terms of form and being stronger as a team right now is Bayern Munich. And Real Madrid can be a different beast in this competition. They don't care who is in front of them. They can win games. And it's just something about Madrid that you just have to respect. So for this one, I do not think Bayern Munich will lose this game. I think at the end of this one, they're going to end up getting a draw. And it's all going to be, everything to play for in Munich. So I'm going safe here. I think if there's any team that's going to win, it will probably be Bayern, but I'm going with a draw for this game. Next up, we have Sporting Lisbon against Arsenal. Now, on a normal day, any given day, I would say Arsenal would easily beat Sporting. But recently, Arsenal's form has not been that great. They've lost 2 of their last games, and that's been elimination from 2 different competitions. So we're talking about an Arsenal side where 3 weeks ago we're saying, they could possibly win a quadruple, and now they're only in 2 different competitions left. Now, objectively speaking, that's not bad, but the problem is that they've lost their last 2 games, which means that this game is very important for their mindset. Right now, they also have some injury doubts. In fact, Saka and Timber are confirmed to be out of this particular game. So there might be some pressure on Arsenal if you think about how this game is going to go. And the result of this game could really, really decide how the rest of the season is going to go for them, because if they end up losing this game, that's 3 losses on the bounce. Their heads may go down, and it's not going to be very encouraging going into the final few games of the Premier League. However, I do think this is the time for Arsenal to really step up and see what they can do. But Sporting have not been a walkover in this competition. In fact, yes, they lost their first leg of the round of 16 to Bodo Glimt 3-0, but they performed a miracle and won 5-0. Yes, it went to extra time, but the point is they found a way back into it. And in Liga Portugal, they're still in the chase. They have a game in hand, and if they win that game, they'll probably be about 2 points behind FC Porto. So this is a team that's competing on all fronts as well. And if you look at it, the only game they've lost since January 6th was the game to Bodo Glimt, and they were able to overcome the deficit and still win the game on aggregate. So this is not a team that Arsenal can just walk over. I think it's still going to be a tough game. So for my prediction, I still think Arsenal are the better side, and they know they have to get a positive result in this one. If they don't get a win in this one, their heads will probably be dropping. So this is a very, very important game for both teams. So I'm going to go for a very tight game in this one. I think this one is either going to end 0-0 or Arsenal will just be able to get a 1-0 win in this game. That's my prediction for this one. Now, if you're enjoying this video so far, I would really, really appreciate it if you give it a like, share with a friend who may love this kind of content, and most importantly, please subscribe. We are on the road to 500 subscribers, and I really appreciate if you could be one of those people who could join this small but growing family. So let's go to Wednesday's games, and if you know anything about me so far, I support two teams, as you can see from here. I support Barcelona, I support Liverpool, so these are two games where I will try my best to not be biased in my takes. So first, I'm going to start with Barcelona and Atletico Madrid. Barcelona taking on Atletico Madrid at the Camp Nou. Now, this is the second time in 4 games that Barcelona and Atletico will meet. Yes, they met on Saturday in the La Liga, and Barcelona were able to get a 2-1 win. Tight win. Red card for Atletico did not help, but it was a tight win and a very, very important win at the Wanda Metropolitano. Riyadh Metropolitano. So this is the second time that they're going to meet, and the third time will be next week in the second leg of this fixture. As I said, Barcelona were able to get a win in the last one. But the thing is, Atletico Madrid have had the advantage in two-legged ties recently. The last time they played in a two-legged fixture was in the Copa del Rey, and Atletico absolutely destroyed Barcelona at the Metropolitano. Before, Barcelona were able to get a 3-0 win, but it was just not enough, and Atletico progressed 4-3 on aggregates to the final of the Copa del Rey. So it should be interesting, and one thing I would say is that based on my research, I've seen that Atletico Madrid and Barcelona have faced each other recently in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Not recently, to be fair, but the last 2 times, 2016 and 2014, Atletico Madrid went through. So in the Champions League, when it comes to quarterfinals and two-legged fixtures, we know that Atletico have the history. And every time they do get past Barcelona, they end up getting to the final. So that's what happened in 2014 and 2016. And in 2014, they actually even won La Liga. So I think the only difference now is that Atletico Madrid are not having a great season in terms of La Liga. When the Copa del Rey, they're in the final, and in the Champions League, they will really fancy their chances against Barcelona. But I would always say that I think Barcelona are really the better side in terms of how we've seen them in La Liga. Even in terms of head-to-head this season, Barcelona have won more games, apart from the 4-0 loss that they had. And I do think that it was just a really poor first half from Barcelona in general. But that's the thing. If Atletico Madrid are able to really capitalize on Barcelona's high line, this could be a really interesting game. So in terms of who the better team is, I think Barcelona are definitely the better team compared to Atletico. But Atletico will know how to hurt Barcelona. Diego Simeone will know how to hurt Barcelona. We know that this high line could be a major factor. Now, one thing I'm sure about is that Barcelona will most likely score. The question is, how many goals will they concede? So for this one, I'm thinking about it in terms of Barcelona's play. They've been scoring a lot of goals. They scored 11 goals in their last 2 Champions League home games. 7 against Newcastle. Well, you get the point. And they've won 8 of their last 9 games, except that 1-1 draw against Newcastle at Tyneside. So this is a team that's really, really in good form and really playing well. And unfortunately, Atletico are not in great form because they've lost 3 of their last games. 1 to Barcelona, 1 to Real Madrid, and 1 to Tottenham, which is a very interesting fixture. So in terms of my predictions, I would expect Barcelona to win at home. I think it's going to be really difficult when you go to the Metropolitano. But if Atletico have a perfect game like that one that they won 4-0 at the Metropolitano, it could be a very different game. But Barcelona is the strongest, and I just expect Barcelona to be able to get a win in this one. So I'm predicting a 3-1 victory for Barcelona, and we'll see how it goes in the Metropolitano next week. Now, the final game for this week is PSG hosting Liverpool at the Parc des Princes. And honestly speaking, this is so interesting because Arne Slot loves to talk about PSG. He cannot get them out of his mind. So he has the chance to face them again. Last season, they eliminated Liverpool on penalties. I think when you think about it in terms of performances, Liverpool were not very great in this one, and I think those were the first signs of things not going too well for Liverpool. Now, I have to say that this season, both teams have been below par, but Liverpool's below par has been really, really below par. In terms of goals conceded, in terms of losses, it's not been great for Liverpool at all. I think Liverpool are having a Hall of Shame performance this season. PSG have won their last 4 games, including putting 8 goals past Chelsea. Now, Liverpool, on the other hand, have won just 1 of their last 5 games, and they've lost 15 games in this whole season. That's the most number of losses they've had in any season for the past 11 years. 11 years. So I'm here to predict about this thing. I'm trying not to get too emotional about Liverpool and slots. That's for another video. But I think PSG are picking form, and that's what they did last season. Towards the end of the season, they started to play a lot better, and I think that's exactly what's happening with PSG right now. So if there's any team that I fancy in this particular fixture, I think it's going to be PSG. We can see just how dangerous they can be, and they're starting to show it, like I said. So Liverpool have objectively gotten worse in the past few games, and they have lost 4 of their last 5 away games in all competitions. 4 of their last 5 in all competitions away, and now they're coming to the Parc des Princes, the home of the European champions. So my prediction, I expect, and I hate to say it, it's so sad saying it, but I expect a PSG routine win. If they score first, I think Liverpool can only pray for mercy. But I would gladly take a draw or a win for Liverpool. But honestly speaking, I expect PSG to win this game quite convincingly. I'm going to go for a 3-1 victory for PSG in this one. So that's it for my predictions for this one. Let me know what you think in the comments. Who do you think is going to win? Who do you think is going to go through? Do you agree with my predictions? Do you think there's something to change? Let me know in the comments. And before you leave, make sure you like the video. I would really appreciate that. Share it with a friend, and make sure you do subscribe. And let's get this channel to 500 subscribers. Thank you so much for watching to this point. And before you leave, make sure you watch one of these videos, and I'll see you guys there. Cheers.